Hey, Peter.
Hey, Dominic.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Great to have you on the line.
Thank you.
Geez, it's been about a month since our pre-call,
Yep.
and here we are.
Here we are.
Summer's now over, and we're into fall.
Oh, not that fast. I'm still hanging on.
By your nails.
Yeah.
All right, well, great. Well, hey, everybody listening, we've got Peter Mate with us today, and we're going to talk about a pretty interesting subject, one that comes up a lot in our community, that community being people in the finished wood trades, software.
Software.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive.
It is expensive.
Yeah, so today you and I are going to talk about why we should use it. But before we do, maybe, Peter, you can give us a 10,000-foot perspective on why you're here talking to architectural millworkers, cabinet makers, kitchens, cabinets, closets, and bath people. Why you and why this podcast?
Well, Dominic, for me, I've always been someone that's been very passionate about woodworking. I love woodworking because it's often considered, the ugly stepchild of the manufacturing industries, and I love that. I love going for the underdog. I think woodworkers are some of the most creative and artistic people being mixed into manufacturing, and it's quite unique. So I love the fact that woodworkers have these challenges where they don't necessarily come from maybe an engineering school or something like that, and they kind of started something off and have to learn as they go. Right. And so as a result, I spent a lot of time writing columns for magazines, sitting on different boards to help shape some different associations we have in the industry. And I'm really passionate about really helping woodworkers become better business people, and actually maybe making some money at the end of the whole thing. Yeah. And maybe having some time to push your kids on a swing once in a while, because in woodworking it seems like it's very uncommon.
Yeah. Well, you and I are pretty well aligned then, Peter, because I'm all about showing woodworkers how to be better business people too. Now, for those let me ask you, because some people don't know, Peter, what's your professional background? Who do you normally represent if you're not on a podcast sipping a latte?
So I represent Planet Canada. We're a software company. So the idea is that we sell various different softwares for woodworkers, and whether it's design or manufacturing. And we're really there to support woodworkers in adapting that software and using it and learning how to use it. So that's we have a team of about 20 of us, and that's all we do.
Perfect. Well, I remember in our pre-interview, we talked about, okay, I know you're from Planet, and I know a lot of people use the various softwares, but we're gonna take it a level above that and just talk about software in general for business operations for these hardworking men and women in this industry that are out there doing the finished wood trades, because software is expensive and it's a difficult decision either to understand, from my perspective, working with woodworkers, I see them encountering a difficult decision. Do we need to spend the money? That's what they say. Spend the money on this software. Number one. Number two is after they have the software, sometimes it just sits there and they don't use it to its maximum.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges in software is it's so easy when you're shopping for software to get fooled or duped into buying something that you didn't really expect. So if you come across a salesperson that really wants to get a sale and they're really good at their presentation skills and can pull a smoke and mirror show, you could end up buying something that you didn't intend to. What you thought you were buying maybe was something different, but really, at the end of the day, when you go out there and when you look for software, it really needs to be something that is going to be concrete, and people are going to show you what you're doing, and from start to finish, not something that we've prepared 3 weeks in advance, because I've looked at your website, and when I sit in front of you, now I'm going to show you exactly what you want to see.
Right.
So, and then in addition to that, when you do get software presented to you, people have to realize that typically the people presenting the software are the people that present it in the best light, and they know where to click 3 clicks ahead of even you asking the question. So you need to be prepared when you do make that leap and buy that software, that you're going to start by crawling and walking and falling, and before you ever get to the point where you start running.
So those are some really good points. So let's say I'm a shop owner and I'm thinking about, I don't have software, but I'm going to move towards software. Let's do that kind of person first. Where do I start? Do I just start by Googling a bunch of different softwares, or do I think about, and I think this is a leading question, do I think about the outcomes I want? Do I think about why I want software? Which is more important first?
Well, I definitely think that you need to ask yourself, what are the biggest pain areas in your business, and what are you trying to accomplish to fix?
Uh-huh.
Once you've identified those, what you think are the biggest pains, the next thing I think would be to really speak to people that you trust. So in woodworking, one of the most beautiful things is that it's such a small community. That you typically know, a bunch of other woodworkers, whether it's through associations or on forums that you're on or things like that. And they're going to give you some really, really good hands-on experience that they've had. And they're going to say, you know what, I bought XYZ software and this is how it worked, or this is what I liked, this is what I didn't like, or, I failed with this one, I succeeded with this one, and start building, getting a sense of maybe there's a theme, maybe there's a theme around certain softwares that seem to work better and certain softwares that maybe have a higher failure rate, and just start to get a sense. And then you can start Googling and getting demonstrations and seeing what they look like.
Right.
But, I'd never underestimate the peers around you that have done it already.
Yeah. So being parts of the associations like AWI, OMAC, NKBA, whatever industry association you might have.
Absolutely. Crucial.
Yeah. So should we expect a software to be a silver bullet that does everything we ever need, and buy one software package and it does it all?
Well, this is the way I look at it. I mean, if you do get a software package that does it all or almost all, typically it'll do everything poorly or fair. So, it's like I compare it to vehicles. Okay. So if you need a cube van to deliver larger items, well, it's not going to handle like a Ferrari. But if you need to win a race, then you might get a sports car. If you need to haul kids around, you might get a minivan. So you've got all these different specialized vehicles for different applications. And a minivan will do horribly on a racetrack most of the time, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
But it has its purpose, and software is the same way. So if you try and buy one software, that one cube van that's going to work for everything, it's going to do most things mediocre. So really, it's to find the software that's specific to what you want to do, and make sure that it's the best one at doing that. So if you want to automate your engineering to production to your automated equipment, then that's the focus. That's the slice of your business that you go out and find a software that does that best.
Okay, I like that answer, by the way. And I know some of the people listening like to tinker on cars.
Oh yeah.
Somebody listening is going to say, I've got this van like the one from the A-Team.
Yeah.
And he's got it all done out, and it can do a quarter mile in X seconds. And he's going to, he'll let us know in the notes or somewhere in the comments that this is souped up dragster van. Okay, well, let's talk then about the people who have no software, moving from no software to software, and the people moving from the second group, moving from software to better use of software.
Okay.
And from a benefits perspective. So what's the plus in it for me? So the first one is I've got no software right now to some sort of operating software. What are the benefits to my company of moving from no software to some sort of software?
Well, the first thing is it's, taking the first step, it opens up other doors. So there's a million different software applications and all kinds of things that people can use in business. But a lot of times, if you don't have something to start with, if you don't have your information, your processes in some type of electronic format, you can't use those other ancillary products or solutions.
Right.
So, the first step is getting into some type of software is going to help you with, the other softwares that you're going to want to add on in the future. But also think of it like this. When you have people that know a lot of stuff and know how your engineering works, and that guy that's been with you for 20 years and he knows how it works, think about software as a place to put his knowledge, so that one day if he's no longer there, or if you need two of him but you can't find a second one of him, well, that's where the software is going to give you a bigger capacity to execute like that perfect person that you do have. So you'll hire someone who's maybe not as knowledgeable, but because this person has put their knowledge into an automated software system, well, then the second person that you hire doesn't need to be as knowledgeable.
Right. All right. So remember looking at your LinkedIn profile that you've got a CNC background yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're thinking about that. You've got that skilled guy. I remember seeing a long time ago how automotive robots were made. Is that they would actually track the best workers in a factory facility. They would track them and then just make the robot do what that person did, and that's how that automation system started. Suppose it's the same with CNC, and that's what you're talking about here. Is taking that knowledge after you've nested your plans and sent it down to the CNC. There's a system. Now you can plug other people into that.
Yeah. And you know, the hardest thing right now is to get people that are skilled and to keep them. You know, so a lot of times if you do find someone who's skilled, they might jump ship for a few bucks more here, a few bucks more there. It's a closer commute or whatever reason. So it's very difficult to keep these really good people. Yeah. So what you want to do is you want to make the most out of the key people that you have. And software kind of helps that. It gives them extra arms to do more things, to get more done in a day.
Yeah. I mean, there's no use dancing around it. The people that know Planet know that you represent vision and some other things. Yep. There's serious labor savings that can be had with software like that.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? I mean, you can take 2 or 3 days off a job production or not save that 2 or 3 days, but that's a lot of margin and a lot of time savings.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I think the numbers speak for themselves. You know, if implementing some type of software like this wasn't profitable, then, you know, these software companies would have been out of business long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, people wouldn't continue using the software year after year after year. It goes sit on a shelf somewhere. So the fact that there are more people buying these softwares and using them on a regular basis and buying CNC machines, you know, that's not a trend. It's something that's happening because it works. If it didn't, you know, all these software companies would have been gone.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait until this conversation turns to 3D printing of cabinetry, countertops. And I know it's coming. I feel like I'm a little far ahead of the curve because some of the people I talk to about it, their eyes glaze over. And I don't think that's ever coming. I guarantee you 3D printing is coming to this industry, and that's going to be a massive game changer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll wait to see when that happens. I get to say I was the first guy.
All right.
Right. Sure. Okay. Well, let's go to that second population, that second group of people, people that already have their software in place, but they're not getting the most out of it. So they know they've got it. Software is expensive, right? They might even be kind of beating themselves up going, we spent all this money. We even had the trainer come in. We did all the stuff, but at a leadership level, we didn't embrace it. And now it kind of sits there limping along. We're not getting the most out of it. Mm-hmm. What would your advice be to a user like that? How do they get from being kind of a moderate or weak user to a stronger user so they get all the benefits?
Well, you know, you've touched on quite a few points there that impact all that. One is the leadership. I mean, if the leadership's not in it, and they're not driving this thing, then there's no amount of effort down below that's going to make any difference. Really, it has to be the leaders up top that believe in this and that do what needs to be done to move it forward. Now, I've seen, you know, the same software system in various different shops, and you can imagine that I've seen different levels of success with it. What makes that so different? Well, one of the big differences is the training. So the training, the support, and the continuous improvement. So there's some companies that, first of all, you know, they might have a user that's not as motivated or not as skilled, and then some companies have this, you know, whiz that, you know, a couple of searches on the internet and they're off to the races and they know more than we do, you know?
Yeah.
So the first thing is, you know, the people that you have, but also as human beings, we tend to learn best on an ongoing basis, a little bit at a time ongoing, rather than cramming it all up into, you know, hey, I'm going to get trained all week this week. I'm dedicated to learning the software and I'm putting everything else aside and then I'm going to be an expert. Well, that's not really how it works, because at the end of day 2, you feel like your brain's going to explode. So yeah. The best piece of advice I can offer to that second group of people that have this software that want to get more out of it is continuously keep upping the game on it. Continuously, just instead of doing a whole week of training at once, do a little bit of training on a weekly, monthly basis, quarterly basis. So budget time and money to move the needle forward just a little bit every single day, every single week, every single month. And when you do that, it's amazing how much you accomplish. When I learned the software back when I started, I got into a habit of reading the user group forums. And so every morning with my cup of coffee, I'd sit down, I'd spend 10 to 15 minutes reading, the bold forum topics that other people posted that I hadn't read yet. So I just went through them. And 15 minutes every morning is not a big chunk of my day, but if you take that times 5 times 52 weeks in a year, that's a lot of training that I did in little increments.
Yeah, just picking up tips.
Yeah.
It's funny that you're talking about software and the difference between training and support. And the same thing is true of the business I'm in, which is the business of coaching and strategic planning. People will often say, well, Dom, just come in and show us everything we need to know. Well, have you gone to a seminar lately? I mean, there's only so much you can take until you're dying to get out for a coffee or for a bathroom break. Fluid rebalancing, we call it, right?
Yep.
But that in itself, that event has limited value. It might have value in that it gets the gears turning, but the real value where the traction hits the road is in the ongoing part. And so I always say that training is an event, but support is a lifestyle, right? Or coaching is a lifestyle. You've got to get just little tiny chunks, or to use a baseball reference, just focus on hitting singles every week. Just do one new thing every week, just one. And before you know it, after, like your math, after 52 weeks, you're doing 52 things different than the shop next door.
Yep.
So what's the steps then on a successful client journey? When somebody's going to put a software in to their shop, what are the steps they need to take to get to that successful level?
Well, I mean, the first thing is hopefully finding the right one. So hopefully, you've talked to your peers, you've gone to different associations, you got a good sense of what's out there. You've picked one that is going to fit your needs, and it does have somewhat of a solid reputation, coming from other people that you've spoken to. So once you've done that, then you've got a pretty good chance that you've got the right software and it's had success in the past. So now the success lands in the implementation and the training. So, sending out a DVD or downloading a software these days that's going to work in a woodworking environment, it's complex. If I gave it to 5 different shops without any training, I would guarantee that at least 4 out of those 5 shops would fail with it, and it would end up on a bookshelf somewhere. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is the initial training to get over that initial hump, and then the ongoing training. So what you want to do is whether you do training on site or online or go to webinars, and the hardest thing at the beginning is you come off of this cloud where you've gotten positive feedback from your peers, you've picked the right software that has had success, there's a whiz that showed you everything you wanted to see, how it's going to work, and it looked really, really easy and really intuitive, and then you get it, and now you have to start making it sing and dance and work, and you realize that you're stumbling and you can't even put one leg in front of the other, and that's normal. It's a normal feeling because it is easy when you know where to click and what to do and how to do it. But until you get to that point, it's very, very frustrating because it can do it. You saw the other guy do it, but you just don't know how to do it yourself. So that initial hump when you first get a new software is extremely frustrating.
It is. Even if for any software. I have a favorite saying about being, the student is that I've learned harder things. I just don't remember what they are, which is bad. Hey, how about a success story? We've danced around. I mean, obviously you're with Planet, and so let's talk about a success story with the Planet Suite, where you choose the market. Was it somebody went from nothing to something, or somebody who had it and then really decided to dig in and get the most out of it?
Well, someone that had it, that had an opportunity come by. So we had one client that I love to use as an example because I'm very proud of them. A client out in Atlantic Canada, and they've had the software. They got a contract to do some of these restaurants, and what ended up happening is they were doing such a good job at delivering these restaurants that when this restaurant chain was in a panic in another area to get a few more stores opened up, they reached out to these guys and said, "Hey, can you help us out here? Can you deliver these 3, 4, 5 stores because our other supplier won't be able to do it. And so because they had this automated software and they've automated everything to build these restaurants, it took them almost no time at all to get these shipped out. So as a result, they almost ended up getting the entire chain of these restaurants to do across,
oh, wow.
Across a better part of North America.
That's big. That would have a big change. A big change on the company, right? Going from just doing one or two restaurants to tons of them.
Absolutely. So they started off with one CNC machine. Now I believe they've got 4 or 5.
I love it. Everybody's listening very intently to see if you're going to slip up on the name of the company, but I know you're not going to.
I won't.
I know you won't. So let me ask you this. If somebody wants to get more information from you, learn more about what you do and your perspective, you write for a few magazines. Which magazines do you write for?
So I write for Woodworking Canada.
Okay.
So it's a national magazine, and I write a column on technology. And really, it's not about promoting what we sell; it's about promoting technology as a whole. So it's unbiased as much as I can, and it's basically about the things that are fresh in my mind. We're a technology company, but we eat our own stuff as well. I mean, we spend a lot of money on technology. I research a lot of technology. I've bought technology that has failed for us. I've been frustrated with technology. I've been there many, many times, and we continue doing it. I mean, there's not one year that goes by where we don't implement new technology in our business. Not one.
Well, it's good. That's a great way to look at it. And we have to take advantage of technology. It's a leverage tool, right? Yep. In so many parts of North America, for sure, and I apologize to our listeners in the rest of the English-speaking world, but I talk to lots more people in North America. Labor is a huge problem for different reasons in different areas. But we've got to find ways to leverage that labor. And software takes a lot of that out of the system. I've seen many cases here where software like yours and others knocks 2 or 3 days off a production cycle. Yeah. That's a lot of time. That's just think of your shop costs, just shop costs alone on 2 or 3 days. And how many more jobs you can do if you've got 2 or 3 days open. It's, if you're not taking advantage of some sort of software, then you're losing those 2 or 3 days.
And what ends up happening is that you buy a software to fix the problem that you have or help with the problem that you have. And what you end up discovering once you get over that initial training hump is that this whole world of opportunities open up. And now all of a sudden you can start building differently. You can start changing the schedule on which you build. You can start changing the routing of parts in your shop. You can start altering different things that you do that you didn't buy the software to do that. But now that you have the ability to do it, well, why not take advantage of it?
Right. Yeah, you can do it. How else can people get in touch with you? What's your website, or how do you want, if somebody's got a question and they want to reach out straight to you, how would we do that?
Well, our website's planetcanada.ca, or my email address is peterm@planetcanada.ca.
Perfect. So for people who don't know, Planet is spelled PLANIT.ca.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, I love it. Thank you so much for joining us here. I love the background in your office. For those of you who are listening to this as a podcast, you can see it on YouTube as a video as well. You can see our handsome and smiling faces here. And what I'm looking at behind Peter in his office is a dad poster, probably came from his kids, and a golf club.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And then consistent branding with the green and white.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we had the luxury of building a new office space last year. And I'm really happy with the outcome. Really happy that we found a really skilled designer that hit a home run with our space.
Yeah, and I love the fact that your branding is consistent and you've got the coloring all throughout. That kind of consistency is what customers and clients look for. Same as for our the clients that you and I have. People are looking for that consistency. Love it. Well, Peter, thank you so much. I appreciate having you here, educating us across the world on how to choose software. Software is expensive, but there is an ROI to it. And maybe I'll have you back in the future to talk about the ROI of software or something else down that path. So those of you listening, those of you watching, if you have suggestions for topics that you'd like to have Peter come back and join us on, let me know in the comments. Let us know so that we can really customize this show to what you want to hear and what you want to see. We're happy to do that. Our job here is to educate, inspire, and inform the owners of companies like yours, people that are architectural millworkers, kitchen cabinet and bath, countertop people, wood windows and doors, all sorts of different things out there. Please stay in touch with us. Peter, thank you so much.
Thank
Great
you.
having you on the show.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.